Entrepreneurs will go into business and they think that, hey, build the better mousetrap, right? Just build it and they will come.
Yeah.
Then they realize it's not true. After their best friends, their parents, and maybe a couple of high school buddies are done buying from them, they realize they have to get the word out.
Yeah.
And they have to get paid for
Yeah.
what they sell. And then they realize, oh my gosh, I better get good at sales and marketing before I go out of business.
Welcome to Modern Entrepreneur. Today we have Wes Schaeffer, who is the sales whisperer, a fiercely pragmatic entrepreneur, sales trainer, copywriter, and speaker. He's written 3 books on sales, marketing, and entrepreneurship, and has helped 2,400 of the world's foremost speakers, authors, coaches, and sales gurus achieve monstrous growth by implementing his repeatable, transferable, and proven processes into their businesses. Thanks so much for being here.
Rolls right off your tongue, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. Monstrous growth. That's what we're all looking for, isn't it? So
just on the ground.
that's where everybody's go.
Fine.
So tell me, what is your unique skill set, Wes?
Oh, my unique, other than juggling?
Yeah, juggling.
Okay, all right. Well, I realized early on that I
can juggle too. That doesn't count.
With glasses with water in them? So I realized early on that I was a marketer trapped in a salesman's body.
Whoa.
So I could sell. I was in sales. It's what I did when I left the Air Force in 1997, full-time commission sales. But I always was looking for that angle. I was always trying to understand how, what made us different, what made me different. Why should you buy from me? What made people come in for an appointment? What made them actually buy? And I realized sales and marketing are not at odds with one another. But in typical companies, especially in corporate America, sales and marketing is always at odds. The marketing department is maybe even on a totally separate floor than sales. And sales can't create anything creative. And marketing says, sales isn't my job. But it's like sales is everybody's job. And so, again, being in sales, I would figure things out. I would hit my numbers. People would ask how I did it. And it was by merging the creativity and the persistence. And then it became a natural flow or a path for me to go out and do this on my own and help businesses bring the two together.
Yeah, so the unique skill set is that you have a natural sort of gift of selling, which I've noticed, just kind of like hanging out with you. But then you're also like kind of understand the like one-to-many sort of experience that marketing is trying to deliver.
Right.
Interesting. And that's what you bring to the companies you work with.
Right.
It's trying to connect those two things.
Especially working with small businesses, because entrepreneurs will go into business and they think that, hey, build the better mousetrap, right? Just build it and they will come.
Yeah.
And then they realize it's not true. After their best friends, their parents, and maybe a couple of high school buddies are done buying from them, they realize they have to get the word out.
Yeah.
And they have to get paid for
Yeah.
what they sell. And then they realize, oh my gosh, I better get good at sales and marketing before I go out of business.
Yeah.
And so helping them merge the two is, it's what I've done now for 11 years.
And what do you think the biggest kind of mistake that you see being made is among small business owners?
Well, going back to them not realizing the importance of sales and marketing, that it's better to have a good product and great marketing than a great product and good marketing. Right? You got to make the phone ring, but you have to understand it's an entire process. And you have to understand too that the sale really is not the end goal. Because people, if you don't really deliver a wow experience, at worst or at best, they just won't come back and buy from you.
Yeah.
At worst, they'll return it,
Yeah.
right? Ask for a refund, and then light you up on social media and online.
Right.
So you have to think beyond the sale, right? Kind of like golf or baseball, right? Hit through the ball.
Yeah.
You gotta sell or deliver through the transaction, right? And so I created called the ABCDE. You attract, you bond, you convert, so you get the cash. But then you have to deliver, then you have to endear. And it's circular, right? Because if you then endear yourself with the customers, they're taking pictures of you, they're sharing it online, and that attracts more people back to you. So you got to see it as a system, right? And just think beyond the sale. Right.
And so in your own business, what's working right now to grow, your, is it an agency or more of a consultancy?
It has been primarily a consultancy and morphing into an agency.
Yeah. And so what's working to grow that for you right now?
Social media still works, but email still
so funny
works.
You say social media still works, like that's the old thing.
Well, I say still, maybe still isn't the right word. It works, but people think it's a magic pill. Social media is just a medium.
Yeah.
okay, radio is a medium. Billboards are a medium. If you're selling to senior citizens, the yellow pages could be the right medium for you. If you're selling to senior citizens, you probably don't need to be on Snapchat. Right? So social media does work, but really social media is a lot more for deepening relationships versus maybe making that initial sale. But you can get the word out. Social media has really become a pay-to-play arena. People that are really killing it on social media are advertising on the platform versus just sharing what they had for lunch. So that's why I say it still works, because you gotta advertise to really make that work.
And are you doing that?
I'm starting to advertise. I've been fortunate that organic, of having a site now for 9-10 years. I have over 700 blog posts. Just published my 240th.
So content marketing is working.
Content still works, but I started early. Right? That's harder to do now than before. But I have 240 episodes of the sales podcast. I just released the CRM Sushi podcast.
CRM Sushi.
Yep. So I'm evaluating, having companies do demos of their software and just putting it out there so people can get an honest look at it. So content does still work, but again, I started early. Now you better be doing some paid stuff to get it. You better be doing some speaking, some one-to-many. But email really still works. That's where I should put the still. Email is very viable, but again, it needs to be relevant, it needs to be timely. Right? Send it to a segmented list. Have a nice CRM on the back that sends timely, relevant information to people when they want it, when they need it.
That's what's working.
Sure. That always works.
So what's next for you? What are you learning right now? What are you excited about?
Oh man, what is next? Well, as I said, I'm kind of morphing into an agency, bringing in some people that I've known for years that I've known for many years. We've been in talks for many months about, is this the right fit? Do we grow up into that world as an agency? And I think it is. Honestly, my temperament wasn't meant for that a decade ago. Now, after doing this for so long and seeing the pros and cons and growing up a little bit, honestly, I think I'm ready for it as well. So
it's a lot more responsibility.
A lot more responsibility, bigger contracts, longer term engagements.
Team members, right? More team members,
right. So I had to grow up into that.
Grow up into it, but it's an exciting transition for
you.
Definitely a lot of opportunity to help people, right? A lot needs doing out there. So when you think about 10, 20 years from now, or even further out, what do you imagine you'd like your legacy to be?
Oh wow, I better still be alive and kicking. I think retirement is a big misnomer. I don't think I'll ever stop what I'm doing. I may slow down a little bit, right? But I like doing what I do. I like selling. I like creating content. I like training and teaching. So I'll be doing more speaking, more writing. Less one-on-one, less engagement with the customer on a day-to-day basis, but still doing what I'm doing.
And so you've been at this for a while now. You said you got out of the Air Force more than 10 years ago?
20.
20 years ago, man. So
makes me sound old.
I was just thinking that.
I was 3.
I was just thinking that.
They let me in early.
So if you could go back to give yourself some advice, 20 years ago or 15 years ago as your business started to grow, what would that be?
Get a website sooner.
Really?
I didn't buy the Sales Whisperer until it was September 1st, 2006, and it seemed, I was reading about, I remember reading Bill Gates' book, I think it was 95 or 96, talking about the internet and where it was going, and so I was excited by it. I just didn't really understand it. It wasn't my world coming out of the Air Force. I wasn't involved in that. And then getting right into sales as an employee, I didn't have to understand or build websites, and that back then it was all hard coded, right? HTML, Dreamweaver. And I didn't understand where it was going. So now it's tough to juggle, right? You see this bleeding edge new stuff coming out, and you do have to go grab that digital landscape, right? Go get your domain name on Snapchat and on Instagram and on MySpace, right, back in the day, because you never know what's really going to make it.
Right.
So you have to keep your finger on the pulse, grab that real estate, but then it's not always in your best interest to be on the bleeding edge, right? Go ahead and grab it. look at it, observe it, monitor it, but you have to always stick with what works, right? And keep going to that well. But yeah, you do, eventually that well will go dry. So that's why you keep the little fires going so you can quickly adapt when it happens. So, yeah, get a website. So now it's just keeping the finger on the pulse, see what is really next, what is really going to work. But I still think at the end of the day, it's all sales and marketing. You're all building a relationship. You're trying to get their attention. You're making sure you're not boring.
Yeah.
And all those things are fundamental. They worked with newspapers 200 years ago, with the radio, 100 years ago. It's still true today.
Yeah. Interesting. So given that kind of historic perspective, what do you feel like modern entrepreneur means?
What do I feel like that means? Well, I think we just covered it. It's understanding. I think it's bringing the old and reliable and proven, but using the new tools and systems to get that message and that attention across. Because obviously, who reads the yellow pages anymore, right? Senior citizens will, but kids won't. I mean, even older adults don't even have landlines anymore.
Right.
So, but you still got to get the message across. They're still paying attention to something.
Right.
Right. So you still have to enter the conversation going on in the mind of the prospect. Right. It goes back to Ogilvy and Mather and those guys.
Yeah.
So the modern entrepreneur is just, they understand where the technology is going, but they understand as well, like through Ontraport, having a system, having sequences pre-built, right, that can run on demand with intelligence, with if-then statements and branching out, so you deliver that relevant message in a relevant, timely manner.
Yeah. So it's about using sort of like modern tools, modern platforms, modern communication channels to effectively, run the time-tested processes that have been working for decades or centuries, I guess you think.
Yeah, literally. Yeah.
That's it.
That's it.
Cool. Well, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate your time,
Thanks for having me on.
Yeah. Would you sign our wall?
Let's do it.
All right.
You need a big John Hancock or
Yeah.
be more subdued, huh?
There's no way, I don't believe there's a way to really scale a business up where you're just having to play CEO and COO together in one role, where there's not some separation, where you have kind of like an outside guy and an inside guy. And that's also another distinction I see as